Hey, Sharam Namdarian here. In this video, we're going to be talking about something that's actually quite personal with me, something that the YouTube algorithms generally tend to throttle, except for recently, when now they're actually allowing me to share this sort of stuff. And I know I'm going to share this video also to Instagram, so there's a high chance it might actually get taken down from Instagram for discussing various topics that it might consider taboo. So in this video, we're actually going to be talking about pornography addiction, how to overcome pornography addiction, and more specifically, I'm going to be sharing my own personal journey with overcoming pornography addiction through the method of emotional healing. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Sharam Namdarian, and I basically teach people how to heal themselves. It's my fucking passion. I also help people heal their issues when it comes to relationships, life, love, all this sort of stuff. Rather than learning, which you might go to other channels, I'm here to help you unlearn a lot of stuff, which honestly does require some learning too. And generally speaking, the idea is that we surrender. This is a quick thing. In the description, I do have an online course that I have released called Introduction to Surrender. But generally speaking, the main method of healing, and in any other method of healing, is always this, I guess, quantum particle, where there is an element of surrender. So surrendering to the feelings allows the cycle to complete itself. And once that cycle's completed itself, we can generally learn, evolve, move on. The general rule with healing is good becomes great, great becomes amazing, something like that. But pornography addiction, masturbation, things like that are generally topics that a lot of people can struggle with. And I say can because not everyone does. A lot of men will report that jerking it to pornography constantly can result with sexual issues. Also, more specifically, there are groups out there called NoFap, for example. Don't jerk it, get superpowers is the general consensus. So really, help me out. Share this video to different communities that you think might be interested in this, on Reddit, on Facebook, whatever. Like, help me help you. But I'm going to be sharing in this video my own personal way that I overcame pornography addiction. And the key word there is addiction. So I'm going to be using words that are very addiction-based, like relapse and things like that. But from my current perspective, since I've actually healed my relationship with pornography and my relationship with my own sexuality, I want you to realize that these are only words that I would use in the past. That in the past, I'd say, I'm addicted to this and I'm relapsing every time, for example, I would masturbate to something like this. So without further ado, let's get into it. When I first started to realize through my work from being a dating coach, things like that, I realized that deep down inside what I was actually doing was basically helping people heal. And before I really understood deeply what surrender was and more formulated into a thing that people can actually just press a button a million times, I really struggled with pornography. I would fucking hate myself every time I masturbated to it, while at the same time having the greatest time of my life. And you read all these books that it's like, or you see TED Talks, things like that, that then tell you that it's bad for you. The community's fucked, for example, like the actual porn industry. And that might be true, but we're talking specifically about the emotional response, that our particular things that we have about why we actually go down that path. And so some people might actually find it really, really hard to cut it out of their life. Now, ironically, from my healed perspective, I'm like, look, you don't have to cut it out of your life. Cutting it out of your life is like a way to sort of drop the weights of life, because if you're thinking really bad about yourself and you're like jerking it all the time to something like, to people jerking it to each other, it's like that can help you raise your self-esteem just by slowing that down, for example. But if you're someone who judges yourself through watching a lot of pornography, like that's to be looked at. So generally speaking, when I understood emotional healing, first of all, my first idea and the most powerful idea was to let myself watch as much pornography as I wanted to, as long as I surrendered to the emotions that came up. Now that's the key point here, is the concept of surrender, to let myself heal my reactions to pornography. And I did not know what I was doing, but I knew that by doing this, I was going to really help and heal myself. That's why when I say I teach people how to heal themselves, and I heal people and I heal myself, really what I'm doing is I walk the path before I share it. When it came to relationships, when it came to being a dating coach, things like that, relationship coach, that's the path I've walked. Not only have I helped people through it, I've walked it myself. I've made sure that the stuff that I teach is stuff that I can actually, without a doubt, put my name to, for example. So the results, though, were like super fucking interesting. They were super interesting. Because as I was surrendering to the emotions of me jerking it, basically, first of all, a lot of shame was there. Like I had a lot of shame that I was doing it, thinking that I shouldn't be doing it. Once that cycle finished itself, I started to have realizations. I often say this, like once the cycle completes itself, often you end up realizing something. For me, it was realizing that like what are these judgments that I have about myself? Like I'm judging my value based on if I do this or not. And I've been putting myself more and more in this emotional suppressed cave that honestly really was quite harmful for myself. So I started to really love the fact that this was actually an avenue of expressing my sexuality. And that's true for a lot of people, it is. The general idea of there's a lot of things that we are emotionally addicted to. And some people might say, look, it's a physiological addiction. That might be true. Here in this video, we're talking about emotional addiction. If there's a lot of stuff that you are emotionally addicted to, even bad relationships, for example, bad lifestyle habits, things like that, healing the reaction to it lets you evolve past it. If you're the kind of person who is like, no, I have to cut this out, and you manage to cut it out, but you haven't actually healed, what ends up happening is that you actually are still emotionally that person who had that issue. Like you haven't grown. You're now spending all your really subconscious energy wasted trying not to be that person. So you're like running a race with weights, heavy weights. So we want to drop these weights. So for me, I started really deeply surrendering to the feelings that I was going through as I was watching people do each other. And so first there was a lot of shame that went off. But after that, I started to really realize really deep things about myself. That I watched pornography because I was jealous. I was jealous of the people. I was jealous of the desire that they had. I was jealous in a very small, acute way that kept bringing me back to this same situation of the women. There was a subtle belief that I was like, why do women get to be allowed to express their sexuality, yet I'm not? Yet men aren't. And once I realized that was a deep feeling the entire time, it fucking vanished. The cycle completed itself. I'm like, what the hell? It's the same feeling as if like you're looking for your keys and you realize they're in your pocket, or you're looking for your phone and you realize it's in your hand. It's the same wake-up call that it's like the glasses are on your head the entire time and you just can't find your glasses. That realization was one of the first and one of the big ones. But what ended up happening was I had so many subtle, tiny little realizations about love, relationships, and issues that I was struggling with through watching pornography. That's why I really recommend this as an avenue, as a healing your relationship with it. Like, don't cut it out, heal it. Heal yourself with it. That I realized, okay, cool, I was jealous of the desire. I was jealous of being the desired. I was jealous of the men. I was jealous and I didn't want to be them. I wanted to have the permission. And when I realized that I wanted to have the permission, suddenly I realized, who gives myself permission? It's fucking me. I'm the one who gives it and I'm the one who takes it away. And usually what happens if someone's actually struggling with permission, what we end up doing is we develop these approval-seeking behaviors where we look outside for people to approve our own behaviors. And it can be, look, approval-seeking is not bad. Like, when I say all this stuff, I never say any of it is bad, because it's truly like, when it comes to emotional stuff, like unless you're physically harming someone else, a lot of the time you realize that it's a lot just like psychological cycles just not completing themselves, and you realize like, hey, wait a second, there's a place for everything, right? So what ended up happening was, and this is the beautiful part, this is the part where I recommend it. Once I had actually almost completed my cycle with pornography, the deepest realization was something I'd already sort of shared as well. It was just the desire. I wanted to be desired. Like I perceived, in quotations, perceived that the people in the videos were desired as. I wanted to be desired as I perceived them to. Once I had healed that, I was then getting intimate with my partner. Here's where the thing, I'm like, oh, will YouTube let me share this? I don't know. And I'll double check with her. If this video is up, she approves this video. I was getting intimate with my partner. just kissing. And I actually was able to see that she loved me and desired me in the way that I wished I wanted to be desired. But I had all these uncompleted cycles, all of these little subtle things that I hadn't healed in myself that was actually blocking me from that. So this is what happens. If you're someone who's desiring something or desiring to be desired, we'll go there. We'll go to places that help us desire to be desired. Once that's healed and we realize that that's actually what we want and that actually that we are desired, we start to notice it everywhere. With like that, from that fucking moment, I stopped watching pornography. Now it's been, what, like most of this year, this entire year? Actually, like since maybe around the end of last year, maybe. Now, there are some exceptions to what's this happened. First of all, I can't remember. I've started recording this video 100 times, so I can't remember like if I've said this or not. I was going to use words like relapse and things like that. Sometimes I do relapse, right? Relapse. But the irony is when I do, I'm pushed out of it quite quickly. There's nothing for me there. Like literally nothing for me there. The only other exception to the rule was when I shaved my head. I really wanted to there was a deep part of me that's like, you can be attractive no matter what. You can be attractive no matter if you are bald or if you are whatever with hair. Attractiveness is not your hair. Unless you got body hair like me, baby. But what ended up happening was actually, as I shaved my head, I really wanted to bombard my brain with images of attractive men being bald. Because it was like for my whole life, I'd actually suppressed that. So that was a result of my healing. I do have another video where I talk about this, about me healing my relationship and with my hair and deciding to shave it. But that was like maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks of me on and off watching basically porn of bald men having sex, just to show myself that that was possible. And not only possible, allowed. That I was allowed to be attractive as a bald man. Because we have this fucking preconceived ideas from society that is just like all the social media algorithms that support these particular models. And that's fine. But when you heal, like this has been my own healing journey recently, healing inner ugliness, healing these deep thoughts that I think I'm ugly, that again, this is what happens when we heal the shit. We realize like, oh God, I've been thinking this the entire time and I didn't even realize. And healing this inner ugliness within myself has actually made me appreciate beauty as a whole, and that we're almost sold an idea of what beauty is. And that's why people fight it and they try and counterculture it. But even then, that's still fighting it. It's like deep appreciation of what it is. Like ugliness is on a face. Ugliness is how we express ourselves to the world, just like beauty is. I've often, literally, when I'm working with clients, helping them heal, I will take a screenshot of them and show it to them, and they hate it, of them, because they usually have their eyes closed when I'm asking them to surrender. And what happens is I'll take a screenshot of them before and after a session, and their face before and after, it's like two different people. Ugliness is pain expressing itself. Beauty is love that you are expressing itself. And it's fundamental to the understanding that you are as you are beautiful. Now, can you get objectively more beautiful? Yeah, sure, probably. And do it by all means. It's a goal for some people and it's love, but you find the people who become the most beautiful are not necessarily people who, like, sure, maybe genetics, but they started to cultivate this energy. They weren't blocked from it. Other people might be genetically beautiful, but they sabotage themselves. And it's my understanding and just deep love for people that it's like, look, someone might not be beautiful to you, but they are still beautiful. And that's pretty fucking cool. So healing my own issues with pornography, healing your issues with pornography, the idea was just to surrender to how it feels. Now, recently I felt like I had a bit of a relapse, and I use the word relapse because that's the only way I can describe it with a bit of like an addiction terminology. And I'm literally pushed out of it. Like there is nothing there for me. Love and life and intimacy with my partner and just the fucking universe is so much more exciting. That before, from my emotional state, I was here and it was here. Now I am here and it's like, cool, it exists and it's fun and I have no problems with it. Like I can look at it and not feel like I'm addicted. And that, to me, is true freedom. true freedom. This realization that you can be with it and be yourself. Like, people like, oh, don't have bad food in the fridge. It's like, are you still a slave, essentially, if you can't be around it? Like me, cheese in the fridge. I gotta eat it. But not getting cheese and not having it in the fridge doesn't feel authentic for me, because there are times I'm gonna want cheese and times where I'm not. But fighting that and being like, cool, can't have cheese in the fridge because I'm gonna overeat it and overconsume it, is like still this trauma, this trauma presenting itself. So anyway, that's how I personally got over my own porn addiction through emotional healing. If you are interested in learning more about emotional healing, please subscribe, or you can actually, there's a course you'll see a little section on courses down below. There's a little course called Introduction to Surrender, where I give you a crash course in emotional healing. If you did like this video, share something you learned. I know this is more about me rather than you, but maybe you got something out of it. Addictions come in all walks of life. Sometimes we end up being addicted to bad relationships. Sometimes we're addicted to bad situations. Sometimes we're fucking addicted to people-pleasing behavior. Lord knows I am. When I re-encounter people from almost like a past life, when I was the most people-pleasing in my life, I now get a chance to heal and surrender those feelings, because it was like, hey, wait a second, this person in my life I manifested from when I was people-pleasing. Now I people-please less. Can this still person be a place in my life? Also, do they have to be in my life? Who knows? So these little emotional addictions come in a huge variety of ways. And so hopefully the algorithm doesn't throttle this video. So please share this to a community, share this to someone you might know who's actually going through something like this, and share this to someone you know that maybe might be interested in emotional healing or not. So talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye.